Hi, welcome to Lord of Anime Recaps. In this video, we will be taking a look at episodes 1 through 4 of Haikyuu, where a short but spunky boy pursues his dream of being a great volleyball player, along with his rival, where they learn to be a team and push each other to the limit to achieve their dreams. Before we begin, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be sure you don't miss the next episodes. The story unfolds with an orange-haired boy, Shouyou, reflecting on a towering wall that obstructs his path to the top. He acknowledges that conquering the wall alone would be insurmountable, but his optimism soars as more individuals join him on the volleyball court. Shouyou, entranced by a televised volleyball match, witnesses a player resembling a bird with exceptional jumping prowess, known as the Little Giant, due to his short stature and remarkable leaping ability. Fast forward 3 years and 3 months, Shouyou and his teammates stand on the volleyball court, determined to win their first tournament. However, a formidable team, Kitagawa Daiichi Junior High School, enters the gymnasium, causing a wave of fear among other teams. The opposing team boasts a player referred to as the King, instilling awe and intimidation. Despite Shouyou's assurance that he can outjump taller opponents, he is struck with stomach pains and rushes to the bathroom. En route, he confronts Kitagawa Daiichi players belittling his team's size and number. The King reprimands them, asserting that they shouldn't underestimate any opponent. Shouyou and the King exchange words, with Shouyou expressing determination to win, while the King emphasizes the difficulty of turning words into action and vows to triumph in every game through nationals. As the first match commences, Shouyou's team struggles, interspersed with scenes of their poor performance. Flashbacks reveal Shouyou's rigorous training over the past 3 years, facing rejections from teammates until Izumi finally joins in, setting the stage for their collaboration. However, Shouyou is repeatedly outplayed by the opposing team. The King grows increasingly frustrated, berating his team for not taking Shouyou's team seriously. Shouyou, displaying relentless determination, scores points despite the odds. 3 high schoolers observe the match, speculating about the challenge posed by the King next year, but one places their bet on Shouyou. In a confrontation with the King, Shouyou expresses his determination to defeat him someday. The King challenges him to improve if he wants to rule the court. After a year of rigorous training, Shouyou arrives at his first day of high school, finding the King practicing on the court. After the initial shock of seeing one another, they banter back and forth about who will be the better player before it is revealed that the reason the King is here and not in the school with the best volleyball team around is because they rejected him for losing nationals. Shouyou asks why they would reject the King of the court, and he angrily yells at Shouyou not to call him that. The other high schoolers on the team show up and begin to size up the King of the court, whose real name is Kageyama. Shouyou notes that while Kageyama is slightly taller than the high schoolers, it is not by much and they are quite big. They also take note of Shouyou, saying they had admired his spirit and jumping ability. Shouyou and Kageyama begin to argue and Shouyou challenges him, saying he's not the same guy he was last year. Despite the high schoolers protesting that they're on the same team, Kageyama accepts the challenge, saying that he too is not the same person as last year. Kageyama does a vicious jump serve and Shouyou jumps out of the way of the ball, surprising both himself and the high schoolers. He insists on one more, and this time he moves to the ball, surprising the high schoolers again with his reflexes, but the ball deflects off his arms, into his face, and then hits the vice principal who had been watching, knocking his toupee off. The captain tries to tell them once again that they need to work as a team, but they still argue over him. But he finally gets their attention, telling them that they used to be a great team until a few years ago. Now all of the teams call them fallen rivals because they're the bottom of the top 8, a very middle-of-the-road team. He reminisces about when he would see high schoolers from his neighborhood playing in a gymnasium in Tokyo, and that it inspired him. Shouyou remembers being inspired by the volleyball team on the television 4 years ago. He says he intends to go to nationals this year and throws both Kageyama and Shouyou off the team, saying he needs a team that can work together and that they clearly cannot. Kageyama and Sho know outside, begin to talk, and Kageyama says that he's good enough that he should be on the team. He decides to challenge them to a 2-on-2 match. If he and Shouyou win, they get let back on the team. He tells Shouyou to do his best to stay out of the way. They argue some more until a beautiful girl shows up and asks them to let her through. Practice ends, and the high schoolers say that Kageyama and Shouyou will probably challenge them to a match to be back on the team, when all they have to do is apologize and say they'll work together. The captain accepts, saying it will be a 3-on-3 match with Tanaka, the tough guy of the high schoolers, joining them on their team, while the third, mysterious first year, will be on the captain's team. The captain says that if Kageyama can't win, then he cannot be setter on the team. After the captain shuts the doors, his teammates ask him why he is being so hard on them, harder than he usually is on first years. Kageyama and Shouyou discuss why Kageyama loves being a setter, and Tanaka shouts from inside the gym that practice is at 7 a.m. He does this on purpose, knowing Kageyama and Shouyou will show up at 5 a.m. to practice. When they arrive, they realize they cannot get in, but Tanaka arrives with the key. As he lets them in, he flashes back to his conversation with the captain, who explains that in junior high, both Shouyou and Kageyama were skilled but imperfect, and that he needs time working together, as together they can be the ultimate team. Tanaka warns them that if the captain finds out about their secret morning practice, they will be in trouble. And then Suga, another of the 3 high schoolers on the team, joins them in the gym. He said he knew they were up to something, because Tanaka had volunteered for lockup duty, which he never does but promises not to tell the captain. As they practice, Shouyou keeps insisting Kageyama toss him a ball so he can spike, and after a while Kageyama sends a fast one at him, which bounces off his arms. Kageyama says that he is too slow, and that he will not be helpful to winning. After the secret practice, Suga practices with Shouyou, giving him pointers on how to hit the ball effectively, and offers to toss for him as he is the official setter for the team currently. Suga asks him why he's so obsessed with beating Kageyama, and Kageyama overhears as Shouyou explains that if he can get good enough to beat Kageyama, he would be good enough to beat anyone. As the team practices, Shouyou spies through the door and follows along with their stretches. As he's doing this, Kageyama says he found a spot they can practice in secret. While they go there, the 2 other first years arrive in the gym. Kageyama and Shouyou have a hard time practicing with one another, and Kageyama gets mad when Shouyou accidentally calls him king again. Tanaka and Suga discuss the new first years, and Suga asks Tanaka if he will be okay as the 2 new ones are incredibly talented. We then see that Shouyou and Kageyama have been practicing until nightfall. Shouyou asks for one more, and unlike his old teammates who would always want to stop, Kageyama agrees to it as if it wasn't even a question. As Shouyou prepares to hit the ball, a hand catches it. It's the new first years. Kageyama asks one of them how tall he is, and it turns out he is 8 centimeters taller than Kageyama and still growing. The tall first year then says that he doesn't care if he wins or not, and so he can go easy on them if they want. Kageyama replies that he doesn't care if the first year tries or not, as he intends to win either way. The tall first year calls him the king of the court mockingly, and says that his serves were so egocentric that it made him sick, and that he's not surprised his team lost, as they probably just couldn't tolerate it anymore. Kageyama leaves, and when the tall first year calls him king again and tosses the ball in the air, Shouyou jumps clear over his head and snatches it, telling him to stop ignoring him. As he leaves, he announces that his name is Tsukishima and the other first year is named Yamaguchi. Once they've left, Kageyama and Shouyou continue to practice, and Tsukishima angrily says that guys who are that intense make him mad. After a montage of Kageyama and Shouyou practicing for days, we see Shouyou able to keep up with the shots Kageyama hits to him. For 15 straight minutes, Kageyama hits the ball to him, thinking he will tire him out or he will drop it, but he keeps up with it. Suga, Tanaka, and Kageyama are all amazed at not only his athleticism but his fortitude and drive. Kageyama finally recognizes his talent and tosses for him, and despite his exhaustion, he leaps through the air and spikes it. Kageyama wakes up to a nightmare about his teammates calling him cocky as he loses nationals. When then see the team stretching and the beautiful girl from earlier walks in and once again ignores all of Tanaka's flirting. Tsukishima starts loudly talking trash to the captain about Kageyama, Shouyou and Tanaka. Tanaka becomes just as fired up as Shouyou and they swear they will beat him. The game begins and we see Tanaka spike on Tsukishima, and the captain remarks that he probably shouldn't have razzed him as it fired him up. Shouyou gets a toss and is elated to spike, only to have Tsukishima block it, giving him flashbacks to being blocked at the tournament last year. He calls for one more but is once again blocked. Tsukishima mockingly tells Kageyama that since Shouyou is consistently getting blocked, he should do the king's toss, since it decimates his teammates as well as his opponents. Kageyama says he won't need it and does his jump serve, but the captain receives it. Tanaka reveals that the receive is the captain's specialty. Tsukishima asks why Kageyama doesn't use the king's toss, and when Sho asks what that is, Tsukishima asks him why he thinks they call him king. Shouyou said he thought it was because other players were intimidated because he was so good. Tsukishima reveals that it is actually because he is an oppressive dictator on the court and in the game before nationals. He was benched because his teammates refused to hit his tosses anymore. Kageyama admits that he indeed does not use his fast tosses anymore because of that, and Shouyou says that it makes no difference to him how fast they are. He will hit them regardless. Tsukishima says he can't make up for height with effort and serves. Kageyama has to decide who to toss to, but when he looks up, Shouyou is already in the air, ready to spike. He hits it and it goes out, but he insists. The point is that he hit it. He was there and he will hit any ball, so Kageyama should toss it to him. Suga notes that while Kageyama's bad attitude is what stands out about him, he truly is an incredible player. Tanaka excitedly asks if they know how to do quick attacks. Shoyo says he has no idea what that means, and Tanaka points out that he just did it, and that he saw him do it last year as well. Shoyo says he has no idea how he does any of that, but he will spike any ball tossed to him. Tsukishima says that he simply isn't cut out to be a spiker as he is too short. Shoyo says he knows that, but he also knows who he wants to be like, and remembers the little giant who jumped high enough to spike over the tall players, and that he will fight to stay on the court as long as he can. Kageyama remembers being thrown off the court in the game before nationals and thinking the same thing as Shoyo. I want to be on the court as long as I can. Kageyama steps in to defend Shoyo, saying that breaking the wall in front of the spike is the setter's job. He pulls Shoyo aside and tells him that with his reflexes and speed, he can spike the king's toss. Shoyo actually misses the toss, not realizing how fast it truly would be. 3 more times he misses it. Kageyama starts to yell at him, and Suga tells him that he's making the same mistakes he made in junior high. He says that Shoyo is not trained or knowledgeable, but that he is fast, and that Kageyama is a master of reading players' movements, so he should use it to his advantage, instead of expecting Shoyo to do something he simply doesn't know how to do. Kageyama tells Shoyo to use his maximum speed and maximum jump to get to where there is no blocker, and he will get the ball to him. The rest of the team has their doubts, until Kageyama perfectly analyzes the players and calculates Shoyo's maximum jump height. A lightning-fast spike occurs, but what truly shocks the team is that Shoyo had his ease closer the entire time. Kageyama cinched the ball perfectly with where his palm would be without even looking at him. They try it a few more times and mess it up. However, they get it right once again, and Shoyo opens his eyes, seeing over the wall of hands and spiking successfully for the second time.